Welcome, everyone. I am John Ryan of gambling.com, and I'm pleased. And always, this is a great way to finish the week for me. It's been a long week for both Jim Coventry and me and anybody that's in the industry. But man, man alive, there isn't more fun to be had when you're this busy. But to end the week here with Jim Coventry of Rotowire, director of NFL content over there, and also a national champion in DFS, couldn't be better. Welcome to the show, Jim. How was your week?
It was a great week in fantasy. We're transitioning because right now everybody's getting ready for drafts, so we're helping them out. And then week one, we're getting ready for that. So it's like this double whammy week. It's just an adrenaline week, John, but we're ready to roll.
That sounds like double the work I did this week, and I'm pretty tired myself. And I know I'm looking forward to a few of those favorite beverages of mine in a couple hours from now, just to kind of kick back.
Yes,
That's for sure.
100%.
We're going to go through DFS, kind of like your two best players in each position. And this is of great interest to me, and I know it's going to be of great interest to others because I do play those DFS lineups over at DraftKings, and I play those big ones. You know, the one that you can. I look at it as like a lottery ticket on steroids because we're providing our own intelligence, our own expertise, and now we have you, Jim, helping us make the lineups even better. And I think I'm planning on cashing. No guarantee, of course, but I'm planning on taking a little bit of money. Maybe not the million, but I would take that too, I guess.
There's more money to be made in DFS if the people who play higher entry fee, lower field tournaments, instead of competing with 200,000 people, you might find a more expensive tournament with 15 people or 30 people. And your odds of cashing obviously go exponentially up. But realistically, if you're a good player, you got an edge.
Yeah, and I totally agree with that. I found that experience with the PGA Tour. I do NFL and PGA, and there's no question that PGA there's an advantage in going into those. It's sometimes it's even the same cost, but instead of playing $20 ones, you play those $100 ones or even a little bit higher, and you're in a field of 500 instead of 100,000 for those majors. You're absolutely right. There's no doubt about it.
Yep, and that's the way to do it. So let's get some success going here. I'm
Yeah.
excited.
I guess we'll start with the DFS running backs that you have here. I'm not surprised by the names you have on board here, but I do have a question for you after you go through your two players, which is Mitchell and Kamara. I'm not surprised by either one. I think Kamara could have a really big day against the Atlanta Falcons, who I don't even know if they're NFL caliber right now, but I guess we'll find out. But tell us why you like Mitchell and Kamara here this week.
Yeah, the thing with Eli Mitchell is that he had a hamstring injury, but it was said like right away, week one of the preseason, he'll be ready for week one. So it was probably a very minor injury, and it sounded like the coaching staff knew he'd be fine. He practiced this week, so that's huge. But like when you're playing DraftKings, his salary is super low, 5,400. Your great running backs are 7,000, maybe 8,000. He's low cost. And what I like about Mitchell, and it'll be for this entire year, is that last year Jimmy Garoppolo hurt him because Jimmy Garoppolo is not mobile. And the thing is, when you have a mobile quarterback now with Trey Lance, the safeties on the backside are on their heels. They don't know what's going to happen with the play. When Jimmy Garoppolo was in, linebackers were leaning aggressively to the run game, and Mitchell was taking a lot of big hits, getting stopped 4 to 6 yards, roughly there. In this offense with Lance, now we're looking at chunks of yardage. And if you're betting the prop on him other than the DFS, it's only 62 and a half yards. But here's the best thing about Mitchell. The Bears have 4 new players in their front 7 and 2 new outside linebackers. It requires discipline to deal with the Shanahan running game and even more with the mobile quarterback who could pull the ball at any time. The Bears defense is going to be in disarray. George Kittle may not even play with the calf, so they're going to lean heavily on their run game. I think Mitchell sails over 100 yards here, John.
That's awesome. And that's 62 and a half yards over. You know, I have to admit, I wish I had in-game betting lines for these player props because could you imagine at halftime Mitchell isn't used and the game plan was to use him in the second half? I mean, that would be I guess what's that saying? Borderline stealing when it's really not stealing. It's just exploiting a market that's there.
Yes.
That would be fun. That would be even more fun than what I do with the live in game. How about one question for you, if I dare? I had Saquon Barkley. Now you're the expert of all experts. I'm learning. I'm on a huge learning curve. I'd like to think. I thought Barkley being fresh, healthy, new coach. My models are all over the Giants as my videos that I did for gambling.com this week. I'm sure you saw them. I think the Giants win outright. They can't win the game outright without Barkley, right?
Yeah, you're probably right in theory. My one worry with Barkley is that we have a vision of him from his rookie year when he played really well with Eli Manning as his quarterback. But I want to point out, even though he's been injured, has he been good since his rookie year? When he's been on the field last year, Devontae Booker was flat out outplaying him. I wasn't sure when I was watching the games if it was 28 or 26 running the ball. Barkley still has a tendency to bounce the run to the outside too frequently. He does obviously have ability in the screen game, but if he's not led into space quickly, it could be problematic. I think Barkley's going to get volume. I definitely think that's the case, but I am still not convinced that he is the player he was in his rookie year or his physical, athletic, measurable show. He may not be that guy. So I'm still very cautious on Barkley.
That's a great point because I had the privilege of watching him at Penn State. And that's the image I have in my head. I have him, that first game against Michigan, darting through the middle of the line and just leaving everybody in the dust. And he is not that player anymore. I guess I better wake up and realize that.
I hope he proves
this
us wrong. Maybe he proves us wrong, John. I hope he does, but I haven't seen anything in a while to make me think that player's here.
And he's a lot more expensive than Mitchell.
Yes.
And that's a big point, too. All right, let's go to the wide receivers here. And you have two really good ones here, I think, that are just on the cheap. I mean, this is bargain basement. And I didn't even realize Christian Kirk was priced this low. But take it away and give us your two best DFS wide receivers for Sunday.
Yeah, I love Christian Kirk on DraftKings. He's 5,100. You could play him in a cash game. You may even have a good reason to play him in a tournament as well. The league is going with these two high shells now, and they're giving offenses the underneath stuff. Christian Kirk got paid a ton of money to go to Jacksonville. He's going to be their slot receiver. So he's the main underneath guy. And the thing I like here is we know Chase Young's going to be out 4 weeks at least. So the pass rush for the Washington Commanders is going to be far lessened. That's going to help the Jaguars. And also their free safety Cameron Curl was ruled out, which is, again, part of the middle of the field defense where Kirk is going to thrive. And I really think that development between Kirk and Lawrence is going to start right away. I believe there's going to be quite a few targets. And if there's such a thing as a slot guy being their lead receiver, I believe it's here. So he is very underpriced. And I believe that he easily sails over any reasonable projection that people have from. And if you're betting, the prop on Kirk is over 55.5 yards, John. I think he sails past that as well.
He might sail past that in the first half.
Yes, and you asked me for a second one. So I'm kind of on this 49ers thing here because I really think the 49ers are going to lay the wood to the Bears. I think they really want to get their offense humming, get their quarterback some confidence. And one of the ways to do that is Brandon Ayuk profiles to be the deep threat. We know when Jimmy Garoppolo was the quarterback, it was all about Deebo Samuel. It was the short and intermediate area of the field and working him. But this is a different quarterback. And what they'll do with Lance is he will buy time in the pocket and they will design deep plays. Ayuk is more of a natural fit. He had an insane camp, worked heavily outside of practice with Trey Lance. I believe they're going to be dialed up for at least one, if not two big passes. And the Bears are starting a rookie corner and a rookie safety. And again, against those Shanahan defenses that are keyed in deception and springing players schemed open downfield, that's going to be a big, big problem. And so Ayuk is 5,200 in DraftKings. If you're betting the over in the gambling apps, 49.5 yards, one long pass, and he's got it.
I would say, yeah, one pass could be easily over 50 yards in a bomb like that. And I love the formation that you set up. Is it possible he could be put into the slot so that they do get the matchup they want?
In the Shanahan offense, you're actually going to be set up well as an outside receiver because the way their running game is set up, they're funneling a lot of the action to the inside. The defense is anticipating them. And Shanahan is waiting to see the looks the defense gives. And when he realizes a predictable move, he calls a play that takes advantage of that void in the defense over the top. He times those out so well, and they're always eventually there because Shanahan forces you to go to certain areas of the field because he has a chess move. The Bears are going to be playing checkers while Shanahan's playing chess here. The plays are schemed up, so they won't even need to get him in the slot for those plays. He literally will get them from the outside receiver spot.
That's awesome. And no pass rush without Chase Young being in there. And as you mentioned, the free safety is out too. So that makes total sense to me. I love that one. Love them all.
Yeah,
Now,
I'm excited about both of them.
moving on to the quarterbacks here. Now, this is really pretty good stuff. You mentioned Trey Lance, and I did an article for gambling.com. I was asked to put my Super Bowl matchup together. And I thought right away, well, how am I supposed to know who's going to be in the Super Bowl now? But I had fun with it. So, of course, I pick a matchup that I think is reasonable, that nobody else is talking about. And I came up with the Lightning Bolts against the 49ers, 70-1. And I did do a little pizza money on it because why not? $20 turns into 1,400.
Yes.
I'll take that, right? That's a
Oh
lot of
my
pizzas.
gosh. That's a lot of pizzas. Yes.
So with that situation, I'm happy to know that you like the 49ers. I think they go over their wins total too. But in your quarterback DFS, you have another guy that I won't steal the thunder from you, not to draw attention to those lightning bolts. I had to say it, Jim. I had to say it. But take it away and tell us the pair of QBs that you got on target for Sunday.
Yeah, and I like to save money at quarterback. I rarely spend up because I want to spend up at my other positions. And so I have two cheaper quarterbacks. In a GPP, one of those grand prize tournaments, I like Trey Lance only $6,000. You need very little to go 4x at quarterback at $6,000. And we know he's going to run. We already talked about Brandon Ayuk and the big play potential there. Even though Eli Mitchell's going to run, we are going to see Lance run as well. Don't be surprised to see Trey Lance run for 70 yards, throw for 215 and 3 touchdowns, or even 2 touchdowns and run for another. There is enough to go around against this Bears defense because I think that the 49ers can come up and light up over 30 points, and it may be a very concentrated attack here. So I think Trey Lance at his cheap price, very useful. And if you're betting on DraftKings, 38.5 yards is his rushing prop. And again, this is one he probably gets in the third quarter. The second one, John, is Trevor Lawrence, a little cheaper. You want to spend down a little more, 5,600. What I like here, we mentioned earlier with Christian Kirk. Washington's without Chase Young, their defensive end. 4 games. They're without their free safety, Cameron Curl. And last year, Washington really struggled in pass defense. They play a lot of zone. I think Trevor Lawrence is going to be able to pick them apart. And it's not to be Christian Kirk, but I think we're going to see other contributions as well. I think Zay Jones gets involved here, even the tight end Evan Ingram to a degree. And don't forget screen passes to Travis Etienne who can make plays. I think this is Trevor Lawrence looking to get off the schneid from a rough rookie year. And I think he comes out throwing the ball a lot. And I believe at 5,600, very solid play. And if you're betting on DraftKings, 237 yards is all he needs to go over for you to cash a winning bet there.
Yeah, and that's the sneaky smart one. That's the sharp bet because what has Jacksonville really showed in the preseason? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Maybe Coach Peterson, like he did in Philly. You know, he never showed anything in the preseason. Not that he wanted to disguise. I think it's more to keep everybody upright and healthy. But I think you'll see a totally different Jacksonville team this Sunday for sure. And who better to lead it than him?
Yes. No,
At
you're totally right.
That's an incredible value at 5,600. I mean, it really is. Who would you pick over between those two, Trey Lance or Trevor Lawrence?
So if I'm in a GPP, the grand prize pool, I want that upside, that 40 points. I want to, there's when you're doing GPP, there's always risk involved, right? And Lance has started 2 games, so there is some risk here. So that's why I take the risky cheap. He's cheap and risky. But if I want to make sure I'm in a cash game where I want to make sure I get that level at least 22 points out of my quarterback, Trevor Lawrence has some ceiling. He doesn't have the ceiling of Trey Lance, but he's a much safer floor play who I expect is going to get me 265 in the yards, 2 touchdowns. I think in this game, he's a safe play. So that's the difference between your cash plays, whereas Lance has volatility, but you embrace volatility in the tournaments.
That's quite interesting. As I do a similar thing in the PGA, picking guys that are going to make the cut. And you're
Yes.
really not looking for guys to win, although that would be nice. You want 6 guys to get through the cut, and then there was only one event that I've ever made 6 guys through the cut and did not cash. Only one. But that was kind of funny. I mean, it really was.
No, that's a great crossover strategy too. It makes perfect sense.
Yeah, yeah. Your goal is to get 6 guys through. Your goal here is to get the most points per dollar. Really, is that right?
Ultimately, yes. It's a math game, right?
Yeah.
That's all it is. Dollars per point.
Good stuff. And then lastly, we have the all important tight ends. And I'm not being sarcastic in any way, shape, or form. A lot of times I have picked very poorly with the tight end, even if I think, for example, tight ends going up against the Eagles defense the last couple of years has been like money in the bank, but unless I pick them. then they don't, for some reason, the injury or something goes wrong. But you have 2 good ones listed here, and one is really, really interesting. I'm going to turn it over to you and let you tell us about these 2.
Yeah, I'll save the interesting one for last. Dallas Goedert on DraftKings is 4,500, well below the top end tight ends. If you remember back to last year, including the playoffs, in 3 of the last 5 games, Goddard had at least 92 yards. I mean, it was massive production. And I know A.J. Brown's there, but that's even better for Goddard. What Goddard does for Philadelphia is, even though he's a tight end, they'll put their wide receiver stack on one side, the 2 or 3 receivers stacked up. Goddard will isolate, not at the tight end position. He'll line up as an outside receiver, like an X receiver, and he will get single coverage. And the defense has to spend their resources on the 3 receivers on the other side. And we saw last year, Jalen Hurts has a very good chemistry with Goddard. And even with A.J. Brown there, that is going to continue. And the Lions were horrible against tight ends last year. They didn't do anything, in my opinion, to set up this year's defense to go any better. And if you're betting an over on DraftKings, not DFS, 46.5 yards. And Goddard is a great bet to go over that. And the second one, John, this is the one that's going to come out of nowhere. 3,500 on DraftKings. Tyler Conklin. And if you're betting over 21.5 yards, why do I like Tyler Conklin? Well, he and CJ Uzomah signed with the Jets in the offseason. Now, Uzomah had like 490 yards last year for the Bengals. So people think he's the receiving tight end. That would be wrong, because the fortune he had was Chase and Higgins were drawing all this coverage, and often he was just standing in the middle of the field. He'd have a couple big games. Tyler Conklin is a player 2 years ago. Kyle Rudolph got hurt. Everybody thought Irv Smith was going to be the receiving tight end down the stretch and go off. Tyler Conklin outplayed and outsnapped Irv Smith. He is a very good athlete, a very good receiver. Now they're playing the Ravens. And I know the Ravens had injuries last year, but they do not have a good setup to stop tight ends. And the tackle they just acquired, the Jets did, Dwayne Brown, he's out. Joe Flacco's at quarterback. Flacco is going to want to get the ball out quickly. With Uzomah being the blocking tight end, they're going to run a lot of 2 tight end sets. Conklin's going to be the one that leaks out consistently and draws those targets in a game they likely trail. So I think this is a great opportunity where Conklin gets 4 to 6 catches, gets 50 to 60 yards. He could even score. Love Tyler Conklin.
Yeah, that might be, in my opinion, that might be the best opportunity on your board, but all of them are outstanding. We'll have to see if any of them even lose.
Hopefully. A lot of things happen in football. We know how that goes, but I do like the setup, and at least we have a good rationale for all of them.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you think both tight ends will be on the field at the same time, perhaps? Like a 3rd and short, and that gives Flacco play action and bang?
Yes, I think primarily, especially with Dwayne Brown out, I think they're going to run a lot of two tight end sets anyway. But I think now with one of the tackles out, they want to get that extra beef up front and then throw out of the heavy packages, but also make the Ravens put that extra run defender in. I think they want to put Joe Flacco up for success here. So, and when they do use one tight end in a receiving situation, it'll be Conklin on the field anyway.
Good stuff, Jim. Before I end the show, I wish we could talk for like another hour or so. You may disagree, but
No.
anyway, anything special going over there at Rotowire? I know I've been a client for a long time, a great resource, and if you haven't visited that site, guys and gals, you definitely are missing out. So it does take a few minutes to go over there, and I guarantee you'll be the fastest hour or hour and a half you ever spent in your life going through all the great data and analysis that they provide over there. But anything special going on, Jim?
John, people who go to Rotowire get 2 days free without a credit card. Rotowire.com/free. If you're still drafting this weekend, some people will draft their fantasy teams last minute. You can get all of our resources free for 2 days. Again, with no credit card, you just use your email. It just drops off after 2 days. But this weekend, Saturday, 1 to 3, I'll be in the Sirius XM, the Rotowire show. You can catch me there. You can catch me from 9 to 10 Eastern on the Sunday show on Sirius XM. Other than that, we'll be doing a live stream on the Rotowire YouTube and Twitter, and that'll answer your start-sit questions, and that is 2 hours before the main kickoffs on Sunday. So definitely catch everybody there. And I'm excited to work with you, John. It's been a great night. Tomorrow, I'm going to host you on the Rotowire stream. You're going to be on, so Saturday it'll be 12:30 Eastern, correct? Get the time. I'm in Central Time, so I always have to extrapolate the time out.
Yep.
Yeah,
yep.
So 12:30 Eastern, and you're going to give your time. Yes, and you're going to give everybody 2 big gambling winners.
Well, I hope they're winners. I started out pretty well last night with the under 6-3 in college the first week. I had Georgia Tech, which lost, but got very lucky with the Florida State game was, I had the under, and that was ho hum. Boy, am I smart! And then all of a sudden it was like, wow. An extra point saved me. If that goes 24-24, I'm obviously losing that bet. So, you have to put the analysis in, but sometimes having the horseshoe too is very beneficial.
100%. But you know what? We want to be good and we want to be lucky.
Yep. I honestly am 18-5-1 push in Super Bowls. That's not all intelligence, Jim. That's coaching gaffes like the Atlanta Falcons helped me win that game. Seattle forgot that they had a running back that had 3rd and goal against the Patriots. That was another win that analysis doesn't help you with. You have to have that horseshoe sometimes.
100%.
Yep. Well, thanks again for your time, Jim. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. It's 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to go over two of my premium NFL bets. 65% last year. It doesn't mean I'm going to hit 65% this year, but truthfully, if you hit 58% and you're a professional, that's a hell of a season. That, if you go on Twitter and somebody tells you they're hitting 75% winners for the last 10 years, then you probably should run away and go to Rotowire and watch us. So anyway, Jim, have a great weekend, and everybody that's watching, have a great weekend. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow and next week. And until then, the 2 things I'd like to remind you is to bet with your heads, not over it. And may all the wins continue to be yours.